easier control out of it. And you can see that preview update over here. We may want to even just preview these numbers if we start adding controllers or other things like that. And the neat thing about these dynamic previews is I can, make a preview of multiple nodes and put it over here. And I can resize that any way I want, so I can see these nodes at any point if I'm panned down in a different place or something like that. And I can make it of just different values. So if I go in here and I say, hey, I know that I'm going to want to be able to see what this RGB output is at different places, I can do that. So I'm just going to go into this RGB output and I'm going to add some controllers to it. So I'm just going to drag out a noise controller. So here's my noise float, and I'm going to double click to go in here, and I'm going to set the strength to 10. And then what I'm going to do is actually insert a limit controller. So I'll type in float limit, and that'll bring that there. And automatically our limit controller is inserting into the right place, and I can just go into my parameters and I'll say, I set that to 10. And let's say I want the upper limit to be, I don't know, maybe 7. And I want the lower limit, I don't want it to go too low or too black, so I can set the lower limit to a -1. And that way, even though this, noise is going between positive and -10, this will kind of clamp it there and push it through over to there. So if I start scrubbing this, even though I'm maybe downstream here, I can see that what this RGB level is doing if I happen to be editing these things. And possibly at some point I may want to take this and put some sort of expression in here. So even though this is maybe plus or minus 10, if that map isn't really getting the amount we want, or we need it to be more, I can insert another in here. So I'm just going to insert an expression, and here's my expression. You can see it pipes right into X. And if I needed to adjust this easily, I just double click here and type, X plus 2. Okay, and you can see the update there, and as I play back, I can see these values and the value at the end of the string and what's going on there. And I can also see the updates in my preview window there, which is really pretty helpful. And this is a real easy way to make expressions and have them just be present in the nodes. You can always go into the full expression window, but in the name here, Zookeeper makes it pretty easy for you just to type in, x times 2 or x divided by 1 or x times 1, whatever it is that you want. And you can adjust those things really quickly just within this node. So we can kind of just pipe this guy in and do the same with this float limit controller. So next I want to kind of just show us the same material using the V-Ray material. So I'm just going to switch my renderer, and now we have V-Ray enabled. So now we're just going to go into the V-Ray Lava tab over here, and you can see that we have this basically the same setup with just a V-Ray shader. We have a V-Ray blend material here, we have a V-Ray power shader, and we have V-Ray light material that is getting our self-illumination. We also have our modifier stack popped up here, which you can see has a regular displace and a V-Ray displace. I'm just going to turn on the V-Ray displace. And here's the V-Ray displace and the texture that it's using to displace in our V-Ray displacement node. So we're working in a little bit of the object in here too, and I'm just going to pipe this material into that lava object, so now we're using this V-Ray material. So you can see that with third-party renderers such as V-Ray, Mental Ray, other renderers you might be using. So we'll just go ahead and render this out, and you can see very clearly we're using V-Ray here. We get a very similar result as it goes through. We're getting the V-Ray displacement on our mesh. We have the light material producing kind of a self-illuminated lava here, and just cruises through the renderer. So even though we've used different materials, 3 or 4 different materials here from V-Ray, the blend material and other things, we still get a nice schematic workflow where we can insert the nodes and do whatever it is that we want here, get the result that we want in 3ds Max. So I'm just going to close this tab and go over into our objects and our layers, and we're just going to hide this lava layer, and we're going to bring up a C layer, and you can see we have a setup here called C, and we have our arch and design material with a diffuse color, a reflection color, a bump map, and we're using the loom material here. I can just pop out of map only inputs, and we can see the loom material with all of its inputs for the bump and all those types of things. And we have full access to our mental ray shaders here. And if we just go ahead and render this guy out, see that it goes through its indirect illumination passes and renders out with this shader. We have a little bit of a foam that's generated by the foam mask, and some noise patterns that kind of come down when you get this curl, as well as the loom bump. That's the mental ray loom material, and the illumination color that's in there as well. So we can set up any sort of shaders you want with Arch and Design. That's used very frequently. And if we go in, you can see that you have all the different rollouts that you might want to choose from for the architectural and design material for your glossiness setups and all the rest of that stuff. And if we just pop over here into the palettes, you'll see that we have our main materials and all of our mental ray materials as far as car paint. You just kind of drag that in, and here's our car paint material that if we want to pipe in over here to our water, we certainly can, and we'll see we get a nice car paint wave. To wrap up, I just want to go back to our shader fun tab here. So I'm just going to go into layers and unhide that layer, and we'll hide the sea and just go back to the shader fun tab and talk a little bit about the composite abilities when using materials, because this map of the fall off map with two colors in it is something I may use quite a bit, as well as this map with the fall off and the ray trace. So I can use these and I can save them as composites and copy them all over the place, as well as make them into composite templates if I wish. So what I'm going to do is just kind of grab these three, and I'm going to right click and just say group as a composite node. This kind of unclutters my view, and I'm just going to call this fall color, fall off color, and then I'm going to double click to hop into this setup, and I'm just going to choose what I want to be exposed in that node. So I'm going to hop in and say composite input for the color for both of these, definitely. And maybe I'll also choose the fall off type, because I think that's a pretty important parameter that I might want to expose. And then I'm going to hop back out. So I'll go back here and you'll see that those things are all adjusted here. And they're present in this little node. So I can just change this color to whatever it is that I want. And if I don't want shadow light but I want Fresnel, then I can change it to that, or perpendicular parallel. So that's really pretty useful, because now I can just copy this entire node and I can pipe that into the self-illumination or whatever channel I want. So I'll go for self-illum here, and I have this copy of this little kind of tool node that I've made that really makes it very easy for me to work. And a lot of times I would do the same thing with a fall off and a reflection. So I can do the same thing here and just kind of group that and call this fall ref, and hop in and adjust different parameters in here that I might want to show up. So map 1, map 2, maybe in that map 1 I may want to expose this color, so in case I want to pipe something else into that map 1 for the reflection, again probably the fall off, so I'll say make that a composite input, and I'll hop back over here and you can see those things are present. So if this reflection fall off, maybe I need to pipe in some sort of controller for that color, a Bezier color or something like that. I can do that. And if I want to go in and instead of this actual color I want to pipe in a map, I can just set that map slot, and we'll go back here and you can see that we have that map slot there. So if for some reason I wanted to pipe in another 3D noise for that reflection, I could get this kind of scenario there, and I want to change that to Fresnel, I could get that type of scenario there. So very versatile, these composite nodes, in order to clean up your view as well as start to build tools. If I really want to work with these, as we showed in the composite and template video, I can just go over into my palettes and scroll up to composite templates, and I can add this in as a composite template, which means every time I launch 3ds Max, those will be present there, and I can just drag out that fall off color or the reflection color from there, which is really pretty useful. So that's a bit about creating materials in Zookeeper. There's a lot more to be done there, but hopefully you enjoyed this video and it shows you how you can work with materials in Zookeeper. Thank you.